Welcome you back in the Leaders Odyssey online homeschooling system. Its subject Computer Science Grade 6th Module 5 Analyzing Data. Task 1 More Calculations. Previously you have learned in Task 1 what is spreadsheet, what is worksheet, what is workbook, how to format a spreadsheet, how to make calculations and handle numbers, how to make calculations by autosum, how to increase or decrease decimal. You have learned about autofill. You have learned how to insert new column and new rows. The remaining objectives are how to create a graph, the four basic calculations and their symbols, calculate more complex expression, basic mathematical rule, use of parentheses, more math symbols, use of percentage and power symbols. But before going towards the first objective of our this week, how to create a graph, I want to mention over here that a chart or a graph is a visual representation of information. It makes it easier to understand the numbers and analyze them. Usually it's much faster to compare shapes than numbers, and it's much interesting as well. Let's see how you can insert a graph or chart from the insert tab for your data or information and how to format that. You will watch the video, the steps you will learn if you will watch the video carefully and you will focus on each step.
In this short beginner's level tutorial, I want to show you a simple and quick way to add charts to your Excel spreadsheets. And as you can see, the spreadsheet that I'm using for this tutorial is a spreadsheet of board games and card games. These happen to be some of my favorite board games and card games. But for this tutorial, I'm pretending that I own a small business where I sell board games and card games. And you can see here at the left, I've got the list of games, and then I have the first 6 months of the year and how many copies of each game have sold. At the bottom, I have total sales. So 252 total games were sold in the month of January, and so forth. So let's say I would like to create a chart that shows off this data and does it visually in a way that people can see and understand. There are a couple of different ways I could do this, but in this tutorial, I want to show you the easiest method that I'm aware of. And the first thing you're going to want to do in most cases is click and drag to highlight the data that you want to turn into a chart. Now, the reason you want to do that is that it gives you the opportunity to exclude certain data that you do not want to include. So, for example, in this case, I really do not want to include the total number of items sold. Why? Because in this particular spreadsheet and in the chart I would like to create, I want to be able to see visually what the best sellers are, which ones stand out, and in which month did they stand out. So that's kind of the information I'm looking for. I don't really need grand total number of total games sold. So I just click and drag to include everything else, but to exclude that extra information. Now that I've done that, I can simply hold the Alt key and tap F1, the F1 key. And that automatically generates for me a simple, quick chart. And it just puts it on top of my data. Now, if I want to, I can move that. And the best way to move that is to just put your mouse kind of close to one of the edges of the chart. If you're clicking here, you might have some problems. So instead, stay close to one of the edges of the chart and just click and drag, and you can put it where you want to put it. In my case, I want to change the view. I'm going to zoom out to 100%. That gives me enough space to, let's say, put the chart underneath the data. And now I can zoom in again, maybe to 150%. So you can see that a little bit better. So now I have my data above and I've got my chart underneath. Now you could put this on the right, you could put it on a different tab if you want to. There are all sorts of options about where you put this chart. So now let's look at the data that I got. Notice it says Boggle, and then it's got 6 bars. Code names, 6 bars. Exploding kittens, 6 bars. Each of these fun games that I recommend has 6 different bars. Now, what do the bars represent? Well, the first bar is January, then February, all the way through June. Now, that might be exactly what I want to see, right? That tells me that Boggle is most popular, at least in this past year, in February, and that Codenames was particularly popular in January, and so forth. It also gives me some sense about what the most popular games are, right? It looks like Codenames, Mad Gab, Ticket to Ride. Those seem to be the most consistently popular games, according to this hypothetical data that I have here. So this really might be what I want. But I want you to know that you're not stuck just with the chart that's automatically generated. Up here at the top, when you create a chart, you can go to the Design tab and the Format tab, and these will appear if you've clicked on the chart that you've created. And one of the options in Design is to switch row and column. So I can click that, and instantly my chart is transformed. Now I'm looking month by month across the bottom. It says January. And what do the bars represent? Well, blue is Boggle, orange is Codenames, green is Telestrations, and so forth. And then I can look at February and March, etc. So this is a little bit different information. This tells me in January the hottest game seems to be Codenames, but in March the hottest game seems to be Ticket to Ride. And you'll notice that there is a key here across the bottom, so I can just glance at that instead of doing what I showed earlier of just putting my mouse on the bar to have it pop up with an explanation. I could have just looked down here and seen, oh yeah, Mad Gab is yellow. Okay, a few other things that you might want to adjust after you've created your quick, simple chart. You'll notice up here in the Design tab, the Design ribbon, there's a Chart Styles group. And with this, you can just click or even just put your mouse over the chart to see the various chart types that you could choose from. And there are some really nice, attractive looking charts. I kind of like this gray one. If you don't like any of those that are shown here, you can go to this button on the right, click on it, and you get even more. In my case, I really like this one. I'm going to just click on that and select it. Another option that you might want to be aware of that's on the Design ribbon is this, Quick Layout. So with Quick Layout, you can go down and choose a different layout, and you'll notice what happened. It gave me these axis title labels here. It also moved my key or legend over here on the right so I can see that in a list. So that's one of the options. That's just one of these 11 different quick layouts that I can choose. And there's various ones that you would have to look through to decide which one you want. And I guess I'll go with this one here. When I click on that, it makes that change official. And I really like how that looks. But there still are a couple of things off just a little bit here. One of them is chart title. I don't want it just to say chart title. So of course I could highlight that and I could type in game sales, January through June 2018. So that's how you can fix that label. Just click on it and type. Now there is another way to do that. If you want, you can just click, type the equals sign, and notice where it put the equal sign. It put it up here in this formula bar, and then just click on what you want to be there if the words exist somewhere in your spreadsheet. So in this case, game sales. And then tap enter on the keyboard, and it makes this label in my chart match this cell. Now I could do the same things with these axis titles, or I could simply type, and I'm just going to type in this case. I'll put in months. So these are the months, and then this label is for units sold. So there we have, I think, a really good looking chart, and it was simple and quick to create. I did have to make a few adjustments, and you may have noticed that a panel opened up at the right. The reason that happened is because I double clicked on the chart, and it just opened up this panel on the right where I can adjust the fill color. I can also adjust the gradient and do a pattern fill. All sorts of fun, interesting options. You can also change the borders, and there's even more that you can explore if you'd like to. A couple of final notes that I want you to know about. Let's say you want to make this chart even more visual and attractive looking. What you could do is, instead of having words here to explain what the bar colors represent, I could insert pictures from my computer, and these are images that I collected before starting this tutorial, but I would like to insert one of these pictures, and notice that I can resize that image, and I could put it either on top of or next to the name of the game. Now that's kind of small, but at least you get a sense of what the game looks like. So that's one thing I wanted you to see. And notice, because I inserted that image onto the chart, when I move the chart, the image moves with it. It's part of the chart. Okay, the other thing I wanted you to see is now that my chart is pretty much done, I can right-click on the chart, copy, and I can open up PowerPoint or Word and even Publisher, and let's see what I can do with that chart. So here in PowerPoint, I can go to a new slide and I could paste, and look, that chart comes right in and the data is all there being pulled from Excel. Same with Microsoft Word and same with Microsoft Publisher. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this tutorial to be helpful.
Students, now you know how to do simple calculations, use formulas, and create a chart. But you know, spreadsheet programs can do more than that and can make complex calculations look easy. Does your math teacher and all those difficult formulas come to mind? Well, guess what? It's time to make things simple. Now, when you do calculations, you start them from left to right. Now you will learn the 4 basic calculations and their symbols: plus for addition, minus for subtraction, asterisk and slash. Beside that, you will learn about caret and percentage sign as well. Let me show you. Here it is. This is asterisk sign used for multiplication. This is percentage sign. This is slash used for division. This green color is caret used for power. This is minus used for subtraction. This is plus used for addition. It's again percentage sign. It's again multiplication sign, plus sign, minus sign, power sign, raised to powers that we say.
In this tutorial, I will show you which operation each arithmetic operator performs in Excel. As name says, arithmetic operators perform basic arithmetic calculations. There are 6 arithmetic operators in Excel. They are plus sign, minus sign, asterisk, forward slash, percent sign, and caret. Let's go through each of them one by one and see which operation each one performs. Here we have values in cells C1 and D1, and we will perform example operations using them. So let's get started. The first arithmetic operator we will look at is plus sign. The plus sign performs addition. For example, C1 plus D1 equals 8. Or we can use values instead of cell references. 6 plus 2 equals 8. The next arithmetic operator is minus sign. The minus sign performs 2 operations. First, it performs subtraction. For example, 6 minus 2 equals 4. We can use cell references again. C1 minus D1 equals 4. The minus sign also denotes negation. So if we put the minus sign before C1, the result will be minus 6. The next arithmetic operator is asterisk, which performs multiplication. For example, C1 asterisk D1, which means C1 multiplied by D1, equals 12. The next arithmetic operator is forward slash. Forward slash performs division. For example, C1 forward slash D1 equals 3. We can use values again instead of cell references. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. The next arithmetic operator is percent sign. The percent sign denotes percent. It divides the number by 100. If we put the percent sign after C1, 6 will be divided by 100. We can then format it as percentage. Okay, let's clear the format. And the last arithmetic operator is caret, which performs exponentiation. For example, C1 carried D1, which means C1 raised to the power of D1 equals 36. So these are arithmetic operators that are used in formulas in Excel. We can also use several arithmetic operators in one formula. Let us write a few such formulas. Equal sign C1 multiplied by 4 plus D1 multiplied by 3 divided by 10. I will press enter on the keyboard and the result is 24.6. Another formula, equal sign and opening parenthesis C1 plus D1 plus 26, a closing parenthesis, raised to the power of 2, and the result is 1156. Our next formula will be 5% minus C1 minus D1%. I will press enter on the keyboard and the result is minus 597%. As you see, we can use different arithmetic operators in a single formula. So this is how arithmetic operators are used in formulas in Excel.
Our next objective is calculate more complex expression, basic mathematical rule, and use of parentheses. Students, one thing very important, to work with more complex calculations, you need to know basic mathematical rules. When you do calculations, you start from left to right. Then you need to follow a certain sequence. Firstly, you have to calculate inside the parentheses. Then you do the multiplication and division. And finally, the addition and subtractions. Let's see some expressions to be solved.
I'd like to explain how order of operations works in Excel. When you enter a formula into Excel, Excel will first look for parentheses, then it will handle multiplication and division, and then finally handle an addition and subtraction. What this means is that it's extremely important to pay attention to your parentheses when you're entering formulas into Excel. Let me show you an example. We start our formula with the equal sign, as Excel always does, and we go 2 times 3 plus 4 divided by 5 minus 6. What Excel is going to do here is it'll see there's no parentheses, and next it'll look for multiplication and division. Well, it's got two multiplication and division tasks to do. 2 times 3 is 6, and 4 divided by 5 is 0.8. Next, it's going to do addition and subtraction. So 6 plus 0.8 is 6.8, minus 6 is equal to 0.8. If we add parentheses, we can manipulate the order of this. So for example, if I go in parentheses 2 times 3 plus 4 divided by, and then in parentheses again 5 minus 6, then the first thing Excel is going to do is whatever tasks it has in parentheses. In this case, 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 minus 6 -1. The next thing it's going to do is multiplication and division. So there's one division problem here. 4 divided by -1 is equal to -4. So then 6, that's the product of 2 times 3, minus -4 is equal to 2. Let's put the parentheses someplace else. 2 times 3 plus 4, all in parentheses. So now we're going to give Excel a little challenge because it's going to have a multiplier and an addition to do in parentheses. Divided by 5 minus 6. What's Excel going to do? Excel is first going to do whatever's in parentheses, and it's got a multiplication and an addition part of this. It's going to do, as always, the multiplication and division first, and then it's going to do the addition second. So it's going to go 2 times 3 is 6. Then it's going to add 4 to get 10. So now we have 10 divided by 5 minus 6. What is Excel going to do next? It's going to do multiplication and division. So 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2. Minus 6 is equal to negative 4. Let's try something a little different. Let's suppose we go 2 times 3 plus 4 divided by 5 minus 6. Here, Excel is going to do whatever's in parentheses. So whatever's in parentheses here is 3 plus 4, or 7. Then it's going to do multiplication and division. So it'll go 2 times 7 divided by 5. And then that quotient minus 6 gives you negative 3.2. What if we do nested parentheses? Nested parentheses are situations where you have parentheses inside of parentheses. Excel is going to start off with the most inside parenthesis and work its way out. So, suppose we have 2 times, and you just use standard parentheses for each set of nested parentheses. 3 plus 4 divided by, here's the nested part, 5 minus 6. And that closes parentheses once and then close parentheses a second time. What Excel will do here is it'll give you multicolored parentheses. So you know that these red parentheses match each other and the black ones match each other. It starts from the inside. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. 4 divided by negative 1 is negative 4. Then it's going to do the outside parentheses. Addition is last. So 3 plus negative 4 is going to be negative 1. Finally, it does the outside multiplication. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And by all the different answers that you see here, you can tell that where you place your parentheses has a big effect on your answer. So you need to be extremely careful when you're preparing formulas that all your parentheses are in the right place.
Microsoft Excel will take care of all the calculations, but you need to know where to use the parentheses. To do addition before multiplication, put them in parentheses. The next objective is more math symbols, use of percentage and power symbols. Percentage and powers are difficult and can be a little bit annoying. Make your life easier with these symbols. To get percent for percentage, press Shift plus number 5 from your keyboard. Shift plus 5. To get caret sign for power, press Shift plus 6.
Alright, so I have a workbook here, and I kind of wanted to go over a little bit about writing formulas in Excel. So the first one that I wanted to cover is addition here, and so addition, the way that we are going to add in multiple numbers at once is with a plus sign. But the first thing to remember, and I'm just going to type some notes down here so that you can remember as I go, is to start with the equals. Okay, so we're going to start with equals. What the equal sign does is it tells Excel, okay, we're about ready to write a formula or function or some sort of mathematical operator in which you can calculate. So that's what's going to tell Excel what we're doing. So let's start with that. So over here is where I'm going to write in my formulas, and so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and we're going to start with the equal sign. Okay, and then I'm just going to use some simple calculations in here, and so let's start with this one, equals 5 plus 5. Okay, now that's going to say to Excel, equals sign, get ready to calculate, 5 plus, which is addition, 5. And if I press enter, you'll see that we get 10. So 5 plus 5 equals 10. That's exactly what we expected it to be. Perfect. Now let's go over subtraction. Subtraction is a minus sign. Now, one thing that I tell my students to do is get in the habit of, if you're using a keyboard, or a full keyboard rather, and it has a number pad on the right side, get in the habit of using that, because you're going to find basically all of these operators over on that side. And so you'll see the minus sign above the plus sign on your number pad in the top right of the number pad, or you'll see it next to the 0 on your keyboard. And so I'm going to go right over here and hit the equal sign, okay, which is usually to the left of backspace. And I'm going to start with that equal sign, and now this time I'm going to do 10 minus 5. And so this tells Excel we're ready to calculate with the equal sign. 10 minus, which is subtraction, 5, and that equals 5. Alright, so there we go, we have our calculation. Alright, next up, I'm going to do multiplication. Multiplication in Excel uses the asterisk. On your keyboard, that's Shift and 8, or that is the asterisk that's on your number pad above the 9 in most cases. And so I'm going to go right over here, and on this one I'm going to do equals, okay? And on this one we'll do 5 times 5 equals 5 times 5. And so this says get ready to calculate with the equals sign, and then 5 times, which is the asterisk, 5. And then we do an equals, and then we press enter, and that's going to give us 25. So that's how we do multiplication in Excel. Next up is division. Okay, and so with division, I'm going to start with the equal sign. And then for division, it's this one right here. That's usually next to the shift, or just to the left of the shift button on your keyboard, or on your number pad, it's right above the 8. And that's the divide symbol. Okay, and so on this one, I'm going to do 25 divided by 5. All right, and so once I do that, there we go. Okay, and so that would be your division. Okay, all right, so the next one up is percentages, and on this one it's going to be the percent symbol. And so we're going to start out with the equal sign, and percents work a little bit differently. I'll just type in the percent that I'm interested in, which is, let's say, 25%. Okay, now keep in mind, percentages, when you put them into decimals, they look like this. Press enter. 0.25. So 25% is 0.25. That's because 100% is equal to 1. So don't make the mistake when you're typing in percentages of forgetting that it's a decimal, right? So if I just typed in equals 25 and I don't signify that that's a percentage, it's just going to give me a 25 there, right? So equals 25%. Okay, and so that's 0.25. Okay, there we go. And this could also be combined with any of these ones here. All right, so right here is exponentation, or exponentiation, I don't know. Anyway, getting exponents, so that's what we're doing here. So we're going to start with the equal sign, and on this one, let's do 2 exponent 3. So this would be 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, and so we would expect an answer of 8 here, right? Because 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, and we press enter. And there we go, we get 8. So that's your exponentiation. All right, so there we go. All right, so we started with the equal sign, and the next note that I want to do is PEMDAS applies. So keep in mind that however you're going to write your equations, PEMDAS applies. So that's going to be parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. So as you create your equations in here, you want to make sure that you refer back to that as far as getting the answer that you want. So let's go ahead and do let's do a couple of these. So right here, I'm going to start. I'm going to do an addition and a subtraction and a multiplication. So we'll start with the equal sign, and let's say I do 10 and 5. Okay, so let's do 10. And notice this time I'm referencing the cells rather than typing them in. And so because you're writing a mathematical operator in Excel, you can also reference cells. So I start with the equal sign, and then I click on the 10, and that's going to give me cell D1. And then on this one, I'll do plus, and I'll do 5 right here, which is D2. So that's 10 plus 5, and so that equals 15. And then we're going to do, let's do multiply. And we're going to get multiplication right here, times 25. Okay, so if you are looking at this, you then have to look back at PEMDAS and see that it's going to go multiplication first. So that's 5 times 25, which is 125, plus 10. So we should expect to get 135 for this answer. We press enter, and we get 135. Okay, now keep in mind that you could always go back into this by double clicking into it. And then let's say that we wanted actually 15 times 25. Well, then you have to add in your parentheses, and that's when those come into play. You add in those parentheses. Now it's going to be 10 plus 5 times 25. Okay, so we're going to get 15 times 25, and you have your answer right there of 375. Okay, so again, as you go through, you can add in any of these that you want. Okay, so I'm actually going to keep using this equation to continue on with this. And let's see here. We have 10 plus 5. times 25. And let's say at the end of this, I want to divide it all. So I could actually go here and I could say, all right, add in the parentheses. Okay. So on this one, again, it's going to take care of these two first, which is D2 and D3. So that's going to be 5 times 25, which is 125, plus 10. So that's going to be 135. And then I'm going to add in a division here, divided by 5. So we'd get 135 divided by 5, which is 27. Okay? And so again, all of this applies. Okay, so we get 27. All right. At the end of this, I could go through and I'm going to use subtraction again. And I'm going to subtract 20 just to get to a lower number. And you'll see that we get to 7. Okay? Now, let's say that I wanted to do 7 exponent of 2. So that whole thing, so the exponent of 2, I could actually add in a parentheses here and a parentheses here at the beginning, right? And then go to exponent of 2. All right. And so then I can do that, and I would expect this number to be 49. There we go. All right, so now we've created a function that uses multiple parentheses. Okay, hopefully this has made sense as I've built it. And it also uses addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponents. Okay. And there we go. We get an answer of 49 from all of that.
We can calculate a square value of any number in MS Excel by using function named as power. If we want to calculate a square value of 5, then we can say 5 to the power of 2. So let's see how we can make use of power function to calculate a square or power of any given number. Let me write equal to, name of function is power, start brackets. This function takes two parameters. First parameter is number, so I will refer to cell A2. Then second parameter is power, so that is given in cell B2. Once I close the bracket, press enter, we can see that a square of 5 is calculated and result is 25. We can calculate power of any other number. Let's say in this example I want to calculate 4 to the power of 3. So let's see how we can use power function in a different way, or I would say by using caret sign. What is caret sign? Let me show you. This is the caret sign in our keyboard. So we can use this to calculate power. So let's see how we can use this caret sign. In this example, let me write equal to sign, then number, then I'll use caret sign and then cell B3. So I can say I am calculating 4 to the power of 3 by using caret sign. Let me press enter and we can see result is 64. So let's calculate this manually. Equal to 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4, and we can see result is same. So we can make use of power function to calculate a square or calculate power of any given number. There are two ways. One is directly using power function and second way is by using caret sign. Thanks for watching this tutorial. If you like it, please subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Thank you.
Dear students, now all the learning objectives of this week are covered and completed. Hope that after practicing it will be more clear to you. The last but not the least, history. Geometry was invented by the ancient Greeks and it literally means the measurement of the earth. Algebra was invented by the Arabs and it means the reunion of the broken parts. Till the next class, keep practicing. See you inshallah in the next class.